This episode of Gabba Gabba Huh Talks is brought to you by Hobo Wolfman Records. I don't know how many times I have to say go visit Hobo Wolfman Records and see what all kinds of crazy shit Danny has over there. And right now, if you use the code Gabba Gabba over at HoboWolfmanRecords.com, you can get 30% off your entire order. And when I say that Danny's got a lot of crazy shit over there, I'm not kidding. He's got toys, hot sauce, a magnet with the pigeon lady from Home Alone on it, all kinds of cool t-shirts, Uncle Goddamn DVDs. And if you haven't gotten you a Drunken Stumble Jesus yet, now's the time to do that. In addition to all that stuff, he's got records. This is Hobo Wolfman Records, after all. And you can get records by Poison Boys, Tired Radio, Street Clones, The Fill-Ins. You don't have, never heard of them yet? It's time to get that. Or you can get a cassette by the Body Bags. Highly recommended. Just remember, it's code Gabba Gabba, that's G-A-B-B-A, G-A-B-B-A, at HoboWolfmanRecords.com for 30% off your entire order, including pre-orders. And hurry up, a deal like this can't last forever. Damn it, that reminds me, I need to place an order. Danny, I'll be ordering soon. Go to HoboWolfmanRecords.com. Also, check out DemonBeachRecords.com. You'll hear more about that in this episode. You are now listening to the Gabba Gabba Huh Talks podcast, where we bring you conversations with people connected to the Carolinas underground music scene. With your host, Mike Phillips of Van Huskins. Hey. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Let's see. Hold on a second. Talk for just a minute.
I thought your first name was Mike.
Well, my name, I go by Mike. My first name is, my name's John Michael.
Okay, okay. And so you prefer me to call you John or Mike?
Call me Mike.
Okay.
I guess I should fix this on Skype. It has John up here because that's my first name.
That's no problem. I can hear you fine.
Okay.
I don't have a picture. Am I supposed to be able to see you?
Yeah, and I don't see you either, so that's what I was...
This is my first time with this Skype thing, so I'm way out. I'm kind of out in the country, so I have CenturyLink, which is not real great.
Yeah. Well, if we have to do it...
It says not responding at the top there.
Yeah, it looks like it's trying to connect or something. But okay. I'm good with just doing audio if you want, and maybe at some point it might connect.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. I mean, because I think it's always a little more personable if you can see each other, but, you know.
Sure.
This is like having a phone conversation, really. And the good thing is it makes it real easy for me to record it. And so, speaking of names, Clifton Lee Man is what you're using for your release, but you just go by Cliff, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just want to make sure I didn't want to call you Cliff if you preferred Clifton or so.
Cliff is fine.
Yeah.
I just don't go by Clifford.
Okay. Well, that's not your name, so.
Right. A lot of people seem to go there sometimes, and it gets a little confusing for them. But yeah, Cliff is fine.
Yeah. So how have you been doing, man?
Well, I've been doing about as good as I can under these circumstances these days.
Oh, yeah.
Been going to work, and I've been coming home, and also drop by the grocery store once in a while, but that's about it. But luckily, I have a little studio I set up at my house, so I stay pretty busy in there.
Yeah, sounds like you've been busy. I was listening to the album the other day. It's really good. I enjoyed it. Yeah,
it's a little different. There's actually a pretty good story behind it. I was over at the Cat's Cradle, I guess it's about a year ago, and they were cleaning up some, I guess, throwing away some stuff. And I just happened to be there to talk to Derek, and there was an old guitar that had the head broken off.
Yeah.
And it was just laying there kind of in the trash. And I'm like, whose guitar is that? And they said, well, it hung in Frank's office for about 20 years, and they don't really know where it came from. And someone made an offer to buy it from Frank, and he was going to sell it, so they took it off the wall, and somebody knocked into it and broke the head off.
Yeah.
And so the sale fell through, and I said, well, what are you going to do with the body and the neck? And they said, well, Derek said, well, you can have it if you want it. And I said, sure, I'll take it.
Yeah.
And so they were supposed to get me the headstock, but they never did. I guess they couldn't find it. And so anyway, I got a headstock. I ordered one online, and I glued it together, and I fixed it up. Turns out it's like a 46 stretch.
Oh, wow.
And so the title of the album is kind of Not For Sale 46. And there's a picture of the guitar on the back if you look at it, and also on the front, but the images are kind of doubled. You have to kind of turn the back of the album upside down to see the guitar.
Yeah.
I used the guitar on the whole recording, and it gave it, just a really kind of a unique sound. You might have noticed it, if you listen to it again. You can tell that it's an old guitar. It's a hollow body, one pickup, the original pickup.
Oh, yeah.
And everything worked fine. And so, anyway, I used this, and then a little bit later, I happened to see a picture on the internet with D. Boone playing the identical guitar.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and so, it's exact.
Yeah.
46 scratches around, and so anyway, I got to think about maybe it belonged to D. Boone and he lost it or something. So I texted Mike Watt, but I haven't heard back from him about it.
Oh, okay.
Just see if he had any information on it. But anyway, that was kind of what got me into those songs and playing them. I was doing them on the guitar.
Yeah, cool. And I guess I've already mentioned your name once, but I'm going to go ahead and sort of do my introduction here and say I'm talking to Clifton Lee Man or Cliff. And I know you or first became familiar with you when you were playing with Pipe. And then became aware of Bad Checks after that. But where are you originally from? Are you originally from North Carolina?
Yep, originally from North Carolina. Grew up in Durham.
Okay.
And I was living down in Miami right before the Bad Checks started. And my younger brother, he convinced me to come back up to North Carolina to start the band.
Yeah, that's Robin, correct? Is your brother's name?
Robin, that's correct. And so that's where we got started into the original music and so forth with the Bad Checks. Was with me and him and one of my friends from high school on drums.
So sort of going even back before that, though, when you were a kid, what was the first thing about music that sort of grabbed a hold of you that made you think that maybe not right away that you wanted to play it, but made you think that this was something that was going to be a part of your life?
Well, it became a part of my life because my mother, she played guitar.
Okay.
And she would sing and play guitar, and I guess she did a lot of old, Jimmy Rogers and stuff like that, kind of stuff. And she would sing, and she could play 3 chords, and that's all you needed, for that stuff. But she couldn't tune the guitar, and so she would play on it out of tune a lot. I guess my uncle, who taught her, he forgot how to teach her how to tune it or whatever. But someone would tune it for her and she would play it.
Yeah.
But if she couldn't find anybody to tune it, she would just play it. So for some reason, I was able to tune it.
Okay.
Before I even knew how to play, I could tune it. So I started tuning it for her. And then I just kind of started picking it up, started picking up the guitar. Mm-hmm. And I guess I was about 10 or 11 years old when I started doing that.
Okay. What kind of music were you listening to at that time, like on your own?
Basically just, stuff that was mostly on the radio, but actually, I before that, my sister, I had an older sister, she had a turntable and she collected a lot of 45s.
Yeah. And,
there was a lot of Motown stuff that I listened to.
Okay.
And of course, the Beatles, the early Beatles, she had a couple of their singles. I remember one of the singles, I can't remember which one it was, but it was one of the very first ones, and it had a cover of My Bonnie on the backside.
Oh, yeah.
You know what song I'm talking about?
Yeah, I know the song.
It was a cover, and that was on the flip side of it, and I just remember that because it wasn't very good, that song. But the other one was good. But yeah, so, stuff like that, and then, the stuff on the radio, I guess the Beatles were a big part of it.
Yeah.
As they were for a lot of people. But when I got a little bit older, I guess around 13, I started playing with some friends of mine at their house. They had, guitars, drums, brothers. Mm-hmm. I used to play around with them, and they introduced me to a lot of different music. They would buy records, and I guess it was like Count Five and the Morboids and different things like that they were into.
Yeah.
And so we kind of started playing a lot of garage stuff when I was, really young.
Yeah, were you writing original music at that time, or just playing like covers?
No, just trying to learn, copy other people's music. I wasn't very good at all. I didn't know a lot of chords or anything, and we invited a friend of mine from junior high school over to play, and he actually knew how to play. And he's like, man, you guys got to learn how to play before I come back. And so I spent a lot of time just trying to learn all the chords, and like a lot of time. Like that's all I did was, just play guitar.
Yeah.
And so next time he came over, we were a little better, and kind of went from there. So my friend's father was real supportive, and helped us get equipment and would drive us around to play shows, like youth centers and different things like that. So we got pretty good pretty fast.
That's good.
So I was playing live shows, around 14 years old, 13, 14.
What was the name of that? Did you have a name for that band, I guess?
Yeah, gosh, we had different names. I think we went by the Renegades one time. Okay. And I think that might have been it. I think we tried, I don't know, we just, I think we, just whatever name. We changed it.
Yeah.
About every week.
Okay.
Hey, I got the picture. You see me?
No, I don't see you yet, but it might pop up in a little bit.
Yeah, that's kind of cool because I got that same shirt that you have on.
Okay.
I think pretty close.
Yeah, the Eagles on it.
I mean, I don't have it on now, but I've played it a few shows. But, hey, yeah, that's a kind of a cool little place you have there.
I set all this up back in last summer whenever I decided I was going to do my little radio thing live on Facebook. And then the other half of this room is it's basically my living room. And the other half of it is basically, it's kind of wide open for, like, I've got a set of drums over there. They're not set up right now, but, for musical stuff.
Yeah, it kind of looks like about the size of my studio up here in my room. I've got some drums, but they're not set up, but I can set them up if I need them.
It's my living room, but I basically call it the studio, so.
Yeah, cool. Anyway, back to where I was at playing. I remember one time we went up and we had a show, and it was, I think, Norlina, somewhere up near Henderson, I guess.
Yeah.
And they had a grill there, and they had a stage set up outside with lights and a dance floor. Mm-hmm. And we played that there a couple of times. We were the opening act, of course. And we got to be kind of regulars there about once a week. And I can't even remember the name of the grill or anything.
Yeah.
But my younger brother, Robin, he got up and sang a couple of songs with us there. And I remember one of them was House of Rising Sun.
Yeah.
He sang that. And he was too young, really, to be in a band at that point. But everybody liked him because he was, young.
Oh, yeah.
And so we went on, we played on the radio up around that area and different things like that. So that was kind of my growing up junior high school, kind of on up to high school, playing in band like that.
Yeah, that's pretty cool to be like that age and be able to get that kind of experience playing out places, even if, it's not bars and stuff, but, to get in front of a crowd that young.
Yeah, and then I went on, when I got to high school, I started playing with some older friends. I had a cousin that was in a band. He was older, in his 20s, and I was probably, I was like 16, 17, and one of my friends, they needed somebody to play guitar, and he didn't even know I could play guitar, my cousin, but one of his friends did. And so I got together with them, and with also a friend of mine who was singing. And they kind of took us into this band, and we were able to get out into bars.
Yeah.
And we would play down at the beach, Carolina Beach, in different places. And I was at Durham High School at the time. They had like a work program where you could get off early on Fridays if you had a job.
Oh, yeah.
They considered me being in this band. I was able to swing.
Oh, wow.
I could get off on Friday, and we would go down to the beach and play shows and different things. Not getting a lot of experience playing with these older guys.
Yeah, oh yeah.
But
what kind of music were you playing with that band?
Covers mostly.
Okay.
I guess at that time we were doing some Santana even,
Yeah.
By that point. And again, being my friend, we had a lot of the we liked a lot of the, Motown stuff and soul music, Sam and Dave, which was actually the first big live concert that I saw.
Yeah. Okay.
When I really was Sam and Dave, I saw them at Carolina. And that was an eye-opener, man. Their band was so hot and awesome. The drummer, I guess it was like a Las Vegas style type drummer. And that was a great show. And so that kind of influenced our music all the way. I guess it still does in some ways.
Oh, yeah.
For me.
I could definitely see that.
Yeah, and then after high school, I had to go into the service, and then I moved down to Florida after high school, and I went to college for a couple of years. I guess that was all during the mid-'70s, late '70s.
Yeah. And
then it was at the end of the '70s, right 1980, when my brother called me and said he wanted me to come up and try this new music that some of his friends were playing. And those friends of his were in a band called Butchwax.
Yeah.
Little girl, your resistors are turning. Little girl, your transistors are burning. AM, FM, my radio is everywhere. Shall wave on, baby, let's rave on. Go anywhere you wanna go. No matter what nation, any rock and roll station, you know I love my radio. Little girl, we're gonna spin it all night. Little girl, we're gonna rock it all right. AC, DC, feeling the electricity. Shall wave on, baby, let's rave on. Go anywhere you wanna go.
They opened for a band called Cigarettes.
Yeah, I've heard them too.
The Cigarettes was early punk days in Raleigh.
Yeah.
They were probably one of the first, punk bands. And this was before hardcore, of course. This is more like Ramones type.
Yeah, Ramones, Stooges, kind of just rock and roll punk. I've got that record. It's a really good record.
Right. Yeah, and so that's what we, started playing with the Bad Checks. We kind of started listening to the Ramones and, the Clash, and, we started playing with Butchwax. Our first show was with them at the Cat's Cradle.
Yeah.
And that was on New Wave night. But, they were still having mostly cover band. I mean, like top 40 bands, I guess you would call them. Like, I don't want to mention any names because it sounds like an insult. But but some of the bands that were playing at the Cradle at the time, they still were doing covers and stuff.
Yeah.
If you wanted to do original music, you had to play on the New Wave night.
Okay.
So that kind of brings us up to the early days of the Bad Checks.
Bad Checks. So Bad Checks was you and your brother. Who else was in the band? I know there's been a revolving cast over the years, probably.
Well, mostly with drummers.
Yeah.
The revolving cast. I had a friend from high school. His name was Larry Talley. He was on the first single, the I'm Paranoid, which came out, I think, probably 81.
Yeah.
We played as a three-piece for quite a while. My brother, Robin, was doing most of the lead vocals.
Yeah. And
we were both writing the music. And my stuff was mostly 60s, kind of influenced by, that kind of garage 60s stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And his stuff was a little more rock and roll influenced, I guess, Zeppelin and, maybe some of the Southern rock. So that's kind of how we got that blend early of that sound that we were looking for. And then Larry, he had a job that was real demanding. He was at one of the textiles places in Durham at the time, and he was always real tired when we play. And I remember one time we had to throw him in the shower before a show, and that was like before the Bad Rains.
Oh, wow.
At the station. And he was so tired he just didn't want to play the show. We put him in the shower, cold shower. Got in there, and he didn't play too great, but none of us did. But it was a big crowd there for the Bad Brains, and it was nice to see them live, and that was early 80s.
Oh, yeah.
And so, anyway, he kind of quit playing with us, and we started looking for a drummer, and then we got a girl drummer. Her name was Janice Truella, and she was really good, and she played with us for a while.
Mm-hmm.
We did a couple of songs recorded, but we never released with her. And then she moved on to other things, and we got Mike Griffin through a friend of ours. He was looking for a band. He was from Nashville, and we tried him out, and he worked really well. And he played on both our albums that we put out the Graveyard Tramp, in the Innocence album. Mike played on both of those.
Did you put those out yourself, or did they come out on a label?
The first 45 we put out, it was called Loretta Records, and it was just a name for the 45, the label.
Yeah.
It was ours.
Yeah.
And it was our idea to have Loretta Records and put out different things.
Everyone is looking at me. I don't know if they like what they see. There's no winning, I lose every time. I wish I could just read your mind. I say I'm paranoid. It's got me very annoyed. I'm paranoid. Everyone is looking at me like I was Johnny Carson on TV. Everyone is watching me now. I don't know how they found out. There's gotta be a way out of this place. How did all these people get in such a small space? I'm paranoid. It's got me very annoyed. I'm paranoid. Everyone is watching me like I was Ronald Reagan on TV. Sure you watch your back. I say I'm paranoid. It's got me very annoyed. I'm paranoid. Everyone is looking at me like I was Walter Cronkite on TV.
And then after we got Mike, Rob and decided we needed a front man, a singer, to free him up. It'd be easier for him to play on his guitar. And so we got Hunter, Hunter Landon, and we saw him playing with Crash Landon and the Kamikazes.
Okay.
Do you know that band?
No, not really.
And,
I don't think I've heard of it.
Okay, that was with Dexter, play guitar.
Oh, yeah.
And Hunter was singing, and I forget who the other two were. I mean, I know who they are, but I can't remember their names right now. But anyway, Dexter played that band. And also Hunter played drums with Dexter and some stuff too. Hunter was a real energetic frontman, and we told him we was looking for a frontman, and he came over and he was really interested in playing, so he liked it, and it worked out. He did his first show with us at the Cat's Cradle, and he was late for the show, so we started as a three-piece with Robin singing.
Yeah.
And then Hunter came in, he had on his graduation gown. He just graduated from high school, so he jumped up on stage with his graduation gown, and that was his first show with us. And
I guess if you got to have a reason to be late for a show, that's a pretty good reason.
yeah, it made for a good show. It was pretty interesting. So anyway, we decided to put out the Graveyard Tramp, and it was on Loretta Records also.
Yeah.
And that was with Hunter singing. And I think we did the whole record in like, I don't know, 6 or 7 hours. We didn't put a lot of time into it because we didn't have a lot of money back then.
I understand
and,
that.
And then after the Graveyard Tramp, we went to Blackpart Records for the Innocence And I don't know if you know Black Part Records, but the Connells were on Black Part.
Okay, yeah.
So we signed with Black Part because our lawyer, Josh Greer, who was the head of Dolphin Records, the record bar label.
Okay.
Ed, the head of Black Part, was an apprentice of his, and he was in favor of us signing with Black Part because they were kind of local, and he thought they'd help us out a lot. And it looked pretty good for a while. We did that one album, and we were supposed to re-release Graveyard Tramp and also do a new album. But I think he kind of ran out of cash. He was a little cash poor.
Yeah.
And so he was bought out by what turned into Mammoth Records.
Yeah, okay.
So Mammoth Records took over our contract, and they had Pressure Boys at the time. Mm-hmm. Things didn't work out with us and Mammoth Records, so we kind of ended the contract with them.
Yeah.
And we kind of started doing things on our own after that.
Yeah. So now, during this time, were you playing mostly local shows, or were you doing any tours?
We were doing a lot of local stuff and then a lot of regional stuff. We were pretty full-time. I mean, we considered it full-time. We weren't working full-time jobs or anything. We played every weekend.
Yeah, okay.
We would go down to Atlanta.
Yeah.
And we would go to Greenville, North Carolina, and D.C., you know. We made it up to New York for a showcase once, or one of the major labels wanted to see us, and we went up there and did a showcase for them.
Yeah.
But anyway, so yeah, we didn't do a lot of touring or it was extended time, but we'd go out on the weekends and come back.
Play out of town and stuff on weekends.
Mm-hmm. And we started making pretty good, I mean, we were making pretty good money because we were selling out a lot of the places we were playing.
That's good, yeah.
Yeah, so we had a pretty good following. It was always a big party.
Yeah.
So yeah, we did that for, a long time. And I think when we signed with Black Part, Mike got a little worried about having to spend too much time with the band. He's afraid we were going to go, touring a lot, and he wanted to go back to college.
Yeah.
So he did. He went back to school down in Greenville, North Carolina, and we ended up getting a couple of different drummers. John McClain, played with us for a while. Scott Carl played with us for a while. And then Robin, he went back to school, and we started not playing as much, and then that's pretty much where I stepped in and started playing with pipe.
Okay, yeah. So I was going to ask a little bit about that because I actually did end up watching some of that live stream before we got on the.
Yeah, I watched a little bit of it too.
And like I said, that's when I became aware of you because my friend Brad went to school in Chapel Hill, and like one of the first weekends, and he was in my first band, the Style and Johnny Appleseeds. He was a guitarist player, and like one of the first weekends he came back home, he brought a pipe 7-inch home. He's like, "You got to hear this." And, we loved it. And, a couple of years pass and Mike leaves the band and you come on board. But I know you're not in the band anymore and Mike's back in the band.
I did 3 full-length records with those guys.
Oh, and they're great records too. That's Pipe, I got to say, is like, I still say Superchunk's probably my favorite North Carolina band of all time, but Pipe's like right up there, close second. I just love Pipe so much.
Yeah. No, I actually enjoyed playing with Pipe. I kind of stepped in after Mike left, just temporarily, I played bass, in the Bad Checks, but guitar is really my first instrument. And I'd seen him, and I liked Ron, of course, his stage presence and so forth. And after seeing him live, I knew I could play the songs that Mike was playing, after seeing him live. And I'm like, if you need somebody, I'll play with you guys till you find somebody permanently. And because I knew Chuck, from way back, around Chapel Hill. But anyway, so I did. I played with them, and it went on for quite a number of years that I played with them. And what really brought that to an end was, it was just kind of a string of events. Chuck broke his hand and couldn't play for a while.
Yeah.
We were on tour with the New Bum Turks, and he broke his hand, and so that ended the tour early. And then when he started healing, I caught my guitar playing finger on my left hand in a garage door and broke the tip of my left finger. And it didn't look like much, but I couldn't play.
Yeah.
For almost a year. It was so painful to press the strings down. So we lost a lot of time there, and it was kind of time to move on. I moved to Raleigh, and so that's when they got, I guess, Mike back not long after that.
Yeah, well, that's for a while. I didn't even know they were still a band. And then I heard one of my friends posted that song they put out last year. I'm trying to remember, Backstroke or whatever the name of it was. And I was like, oh, wow, they're still together. But I'd heard they'd been playing some shows and that Mike was back. So
that's good. I think Mike actually might live in Virginia now. So it might be hard for him to do new shows, but who can right now?
Yeah, exactly. You can't really do much of anything right now. So.
Take it while you can. You only come this way. Take it to the dynamite, and I know that I will never be the same. First time in a year, haven't had one. Only 'cause I was removed. My decision. First time in a year. Lost another year. Never went to 97. It was so sweet and clear. First time in a year. Haven't had one. Only 'cause I'm running out of my prescription. Take it while you can. Only got me pain. Take it, stick the dynamite, and I know that I will never be the same.
Pipe has a pretty distinctive sound, or even before you got into the band. But you seem to fall in pretty easily and carry on that sound, and actually, I think, build it up to be something even more than it was before. It just, I think, for as much as I love that early Pipe stuff, the stuff that you did, it's just really damn good. Did you help write that stuff? I mean, I guess you probably did help write this stuff.
Yeah, I wrote, for the 3 full-length albums, I wrote the music for them.
Okay.
Except for the covers that are on the albums. There are 1 or 2 covers. And there's also one song on the very first one that I think they already had music to.
Yeah.
But other than that one, I wrote all the music. Me and Ron would get together and he would have his lyrics written down in a little composition book, and I would come up with some riffs, and we worked on them together, but pretty much the music was my doing there. It did kind of take it took a little different path, I just call it path, but it still had that Pipe sound, I thought. But,
oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah, the songs got a little different. I hadn't heard a lot of the new stuff. I hadn't heard the new album yet.
Well,
I don't know if it's that.
I've only heard that one song, and it sounds like a sort of a continuation of what you were doing with Pipe. So, that Mike kind of jumped in and sort of went with again, it's the same sound, but used what he had built and what you did and made a song that did both of them justice.
Yeah, well, that's good. My philosophy's always been, I don't really want to do the same song over and over. I'm always, when I'm writing stuff, I'm always changing, trying to do them in different keys.
Yeah. In
different progressions. If you got the same players, it's going to be your sound, you know what I mean? You're going to have that sound, but you can change things up where you're not, using the same, same chords over and over. Keep it interesting for your fans. And that's kind of what I'm doing now with my solo stuff. I just keep, it's fun now because I can pick up a guitar and just write songs based around the guitar, and then pick up a different one. Yeah. And it plays totally different, and do it that way.
Yeah. And I don't know if you want to talk any more about Pipe. You can talk more about that if you want to. I'm going to. Sure. I plan on getting Ron on here sometime, so I know that will be the good resource to go to for all the good Pipe stories.
Well, I'm hoping that me and Ron can work together some more on the Ghost of Rock stuff.
Oh, yeah.
I think we got another album in this. I really think that Ghost of Rock CDs were pretty good. And, you know, you don't hear much about it, I guess.
Yeah,
but,
I've got the 7-inch. Was there a CD as well?
Yeah, there's a full-length CD.
I'll have to
Ghost of Rock.
I'll have to find that.
Yeah, I put it out on the Demon Beach Records.
And that was another thing I was going to ask about too, because I figured that you had something to do with Demon Beach. So let's talk about, like, so Ghost of Rock was you and Ron, and who else was in Ghost of Rock?
The drummer for the Bad Checks, Rock Forbes, who is the drummer for Spider Bags now.
Okay, yeah.
He's also a Bad Checks drummer. That's when we get together and play. He's been a long-time friend, and I mean, he's considered our drummer. We never really broke up or anything. You know, the Bad Checks, we can still play.
Oh yeah, I thought you did. And
yeah, we play. We get together and play once or twice a year when somebody would ask us to.
Yeah.
But you know, we're not gonna, you know, just get out for, you know, try to find shows or anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it would take special shows to get the Bad Checks out to play. But me, I like playing, so I'll play, you know, at a bar, you know, 5 people, that's fine.
Yeah. That's the way it usually goes these days, so.
Oh, yeah.
So when you started Ghost of Rock, I'm trying to remember, and my timeline is a little off during that time, but was Pipe still going on when you put out when Ghost of Rock got together, or was that after?
No, that was after.
Okay, so after Pipe sort of called it quits for a while. So I was just trying to figure out if there was a reason that you split off and did something separate, but that's why. Okay.
Well, you know, Chuck was always playing with, him and Mike were playing together in a band called Small.
Yep.
Pipe always kind of had to play around Small. Small was, I guess Small 23 was their name, maybe.
Yeah, yeah.
They had a record deal with that West Coast label. I can't even think of the name right now, but they kept them out on tour.
Yeah.
They also signed the Archers, that label.
I'm trying to remember the name of that label.
I can see your brain spinning there. But
anyway.
Mine is too, but anyway, I can't come up with it.
Yeah,
but
I can't.
I know. I met the lady that ran it. I think maybe her father on the baseball team or something.
Okay.
But anyway, we played with them at the CMJ. Is that what went on up in New York before?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
CMJ. Yeah, we played, and Small played, we played, and we stayed with in their hotel that the label had or whatever. So I met the lady. I don't think she liked Pipe much because she thought we interfered with Small and Small interfered with Pipe. But anyway, I'm not sure if Small was still going when we did the Ghost of Rock.
Yeah.
But it's confusing to me too. I'd have to look back.
When you've been playing for so many years, it's hard to remember what happened when and all that. So.
Well, you don't really care sometimes, so you just forget about it. I mean, once it's done, it's done. I'm trying to see if I had a date on there. No, I don't think I did. But
I should get better about having all the records and everything out with me that we're going to be talking about, so I'll have a visual reference.
Well, I can send you some if you know, whatever you want. Have you ever been on the Demon Beach Records website?
I'm not sure if I looked at the website or not.
Okay, everything's pretty much on there. The catalog. There's a couple of cool compilations. We put a record out, 12-inch vinyl for Dexter and Throw Rag. I don't know if you know Throw Rag. They were a West Coast band.
Yeah.
we got a compilation with those guys, and we put something out for transportation, the Spins, I don't know if you know the Spins.
Yeah, I know the Spins.
But there's a lot of stuff. We were going pretty good there for a while. And all the label was, when the bad checks, we got tired of dealing with other labels. We didn't want to do it ourselves. We just, started Demon Beach Records. It's pretty much a Bad Chicks label. But it was me and Rock and Rob and actually my wife, she chipped in, and the fourth person, Hunter, didn't get involved with it. I guess he had other things he wanted to do, but anyway, we had had plans to big plans to just have a pretty cool label. And, everybody's kind of doing stuff for themselves now, and they can do stuff for themselves. We never had a lot of money anyway. We kind of did things on a shoestring.
Oh yeah.
But I still got it going. And the website, if you check it out, you can see the stuff on there. And anything you need, I can send it to you.
All right. Like you said, anybody can put out their own stuff these days. So, but I still like the idea of a label.
Yeah, I do too. I mean, it's easy to put stuff out, but it's hard at the same time. There's a lot of music out there, and that's a big problem, that there's so much music out there right now. Yeah, you can put stuff out digitally, but I like to have something to back it up, like a CD or vinyl or something. You can still put it out digitally too on the internet.
Yeah. I love physical media, and I don't really want to see it go away. Even if, so when we put out my current band, Van Huskins, we put out a CD a couple of years ago, and we put it out on a local label, a North Carolina label called Mystery School Records. And I mean, we pretty much did everything ourselves, except we got them to help us record and do that.
Right.
But it was still good to have the help of somebody else. But we still only got like 100 copies of it, and it's sold out now. And I need to order some more copies of it. But it's just nice to have some physical media out there and not just the digital. Even though most people are going to probably end up listening to it on Spotify or
right, exactly. Yeah, I feel the same way. And I like the artwork, and I like picking up, looking at it and listening to it and everything. Good enough. I was thinking, I don't know a lot about how people are mastering their music that they do, or what kind of software they're using or anything. Yeah. Everything I do, I kind of taught myself how to do it.
Yeah.
I have a small 8-track, a digital 8-track. For a long time, I preferred analog, tape machines and so forth. But it's a lot easier to do digitally, a lot recording and everything. But I found out when we started doing the Demon Beach Records, when you get into the studio and record, and then you have to go get it mastered, the money adds up pretty quick.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And so that's when I started trying to learn how to do it myself, because it was just so expensive. Just the mastering alone, it's so expensive. But you have to do it, to make it sound good.
And that's why it's good also to make friends that know how to do that kind of stuff. Because I've started to dabble in trying to record a little bit myself, and I haven't gotten too deep into it, but I feel like I've got the technology. Right.
There's a learning curve. You can spend a lot of time with it, and that's the thing, because if you do your recording yourself, you've got time to spend on it, that you don't have to pay somebody else to do it. Like, you can spend a lot more of your own time on it than paying somebody else to, unless you're just very, very wealthy,
Yeah, because I like when you go to the studio and you pay whatever you pay, and you're there for 6 hours or whatever. You do your part, and then 3 weeks later you have this mix, and it's okay, that's cool.
Right.
Instead of spending 50 hours on it yourself.
But there is something for saying that some people they have the knowledge, they have the ear, and they have the touch. Because you listen to some of the stuff that they've mixed, and it's just amazing. One of the bands I kind of mess around with called the Chrome Plated Apostles.
Oh yeah.
I played that with Hunter was with us for a while singing, but we put out one CD. But then after that, he didn't want to play any shows or anything, so we were playing 3-piece, and it was me and John McClain and this guy named Stefan Rogers, and we were playing some shows, And then we decided we wanted to record. We decided to go to Chicago and record with Steve Albini, you know.
Oh, yeah.
And because I think Stefan's a big fan of some of the modern stuff, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess the Nevermind was that Butch Vig.
Yeah.
And I said we probably couldn't afford Butch Vig, but maybe we could go out and record with Steve Albini, you know.
Yeah.
You know, so we did. And man, that was money well spent. I mean, I learned a ton just from watching that guy, you know, on his console. And he does everything analog right now at the moment.
Oh, wow.
But just the way he approached the recordings and everything, I learned a ton from him. And I listened to the recording of some of the Dambana stuff that he did, and some of the drums that John played, John McClain.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, the sound is almost identical, you know. The rooms that we recorded in up there, he had like 30-foot ceiling. The room, I guess it was called the Bonham Room, John Bonham Room.
Okay.
The drum set was so big.
Yeah.
But you can learn a lot just from watching somebody, you know, that has that much knowledge and everything. You can just, if you just watch them and listen to them and everything, you can learn a lot.
I bet that was an experience. I'd love to do something like that.
Yeah, man, it was great. You ever get a chance, do it.
Yeah, record with somebody. I was on a podcast last week, and one of the questions we did two podcasts, but anyway, one of them we were talking about the End of the Century album by the Ramones, and the guy that was hosting the podcast asked a question, you know, if I could work with any producer or any engineer, who would I want to work with? And I had a hard time coming up with one, but that's a good one. I ended up saying Mitch Easter because I was like, I want to keep it North Carolina centric. So
sure. You know, we did one of the pipe records with Mitch Easter.
Yep, that's one of the reasons I said that.
It was really a good experience also. Mitch knows his stuff. You know, that's too bad because, a lot of those guys, they're not getting a lot of business now because people can do it, you know, themselves and everything. I mean, I guess they're not. I mean, I can't say that Mitch is not.
I don't know.
Or these other guys.
I'm telling you right now, it's hard to find some studio time. Because for one thing, some of the studios just really aren't doing it. Like the guy that we normally record with, he's not doing it right now. Just to kind of protect his family. But, you know, and then the other thing is that nobody's playing shows, so everybody wants to get in the studio and record something. So if you don't know how to do it yourself, then you're still going to have a hard time finding somebody right now that's got the availability.
Sure. I hadn't thought about that, but you're right. I can see that because everybody's going to be raring to go once this is over.
I actually sent a message to our guy today. His name's Brandon Hamby. He's in Elkin, North Carolina, but just told him that, we wanted to go ahead and get on that list. I know he's not doing it yet, but when he starts getting ready to let us know so we can get in line.
Right. You can afford to go up to Chicago, man, just for a day, for one day.
Yeah, I would love to be able to do that.
Do two songs and do the rest of the album somewhere else, but it would be worth it. I'm telling you.
And we might try to do something like that one of these days. Although I think I'd probably shoot for maybe Mitch Easter first. That might be a little bit more obtainable for us.
Well, that's a pretty good way to go, Mitch Easter. I'll give you that.
So you had we talked a little bit about Ghost of Rock, and you said you've still got another album that may come out for that. That's awesome.
No. I said I think we've got another.
Well, that's what I meant. That's what I meant. Not that you have one ready. I worded it wrong, but you've got another album in you.
I would think so. I have to talk to Ron about it, but I don't know if he'd have the time to do it. Rock is the kind of guy. Rock Forbes, the drummer for Spiderbags right now. He's always raring to play. He's ready to go.
Yeah.
No matter what the project is, you say, Rock, you want to do it, and he's in. And so I'm not sure about Ron. He's probably got a lot going on with his artwork and stuff.
Oh yeah.
But maybe by next year or so, he might be into it.
And then Chrome Plate Apostles, you mentioned them, and I remember talking to John about them a little bit when I talked to him about the podcast.
Yeah.
And he says, I don't remember if it was this band or if he was talking about with Bad Checks, but something about how he felt like he was a little bit too hard on you, so that was why that kind of fell apart. I don't know exactly what he meant about that. He said, apparently I'm hard on guitarists.
Well, it might have been the Chrome Plated. It's tough to find people that you click with, and do shows. I mean, that's such a huge part of any band. It's just everybody's got to kind of be on the same page, and working in the same direction. And it's hard. It's hard, as you know, because you're in a band.
Yeah.
It's hard to get everybody going the same way and believing the same things. And so, that might have been what he was talking about. He's got a lot of experience with a lot of bands.
Oh, and when he said it, he said it with a laugh. So you know how John is.
Oh yeah, of course. but we had some great shows that we played, and it was fun while it was going. And we've talked about getting back together after all this. Everybody gets the vaccines, or after things are better, and we'll probably get together some and play some just because it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'd like to see a lot of that after, on the other side of this. Not only do I want to see the bands that are currently going, back out there and doing it again, but I'd like to see some people get some of these old projects back up and go, yeah, let's do this again one more time for fun. Because I think we're all going to appreciate it a little bit in a little bit more of a different way after this.
I think so too. I think you're right. Yeah, one of the things I've been working on is a good time for me. I'm just trying to catalog my recordings and get them down on CD, whatever. And I don't know if you've with your band, with publishing and all that stuff, ASCAP and all that kinds of stuff. But I'm trying to get all my songs, entered into my ASCAP catalog also. You can get royalties, from. They collect royalties, like if you get radio play and stuff, and it's not a lot, but if you've got it set up right and they're playing some songs over in Europe, you'll see a check.
Yeah. We haven't quite reached that yet. We'd just be glad to get some radio play or any kind of airplay.
But it's always good to have it, get it in order and get all your songs in order, because if something comes along, somebody wants to put one in one of your songs in a movie or TV, that's the first thing that they're going to ask you. If you got publishing, if you've got it set up and all this stuff, you have to have
all I was going to say was I've been sort of doing sort of the same thing, trying to get all of my music together in one place and all preserved, digitized, all the cassettes and everything. So one of these days, that'll be another one of my projects. Will be doing something.
It's a lot of work.
Yeah, it's like I'm doing things one step at a time. I've been doing this for almost 30 years now, and I've always kept it, but I've not kept it up, and that's what I'm trying to do now is kind of get it all kept up.
Right, makes it a lot easier sometimes when you're looking for old recordings and stuff.
And I plan to like re-release all this old stuff too. I mean, like all my old past bands, and a lot of them are with the same people that I play with, or with the same guitar player I play with now. It's all going to end up on Spotify at some point. It's all going to end up out there.
Yeah, that's actually what I've been doing too. I put up a lot of the old stuff that never came out, and I've got past that now. I'm just doing new stuff now, and it's been an experience, I tell you. But I love it, love recording and putting music out, and that's if I'm not in a band or something, I'll just keep doing it solo.
Yeah. So this new album you've got out is the solo. It's a solo album. That's not the first solo stuff you've recorded, though, is it?
No. Actually, I put an album out. It was called and I'm looking for it right now. But anyway, it was on a Chapel Hill label that was owned by Richie Williams. It was local, but he put my first solo thing out, and I don't see a copy of it right now.
Yeah.
But anyway, that came out. Actually, I recorded it while I was in Pipe, and Mike Griffin, the Bad Checks drummer, played drums on it, and it was just music that wasn't it wasn't pipe material, and so it was stuff I spent time recording it, and I wanted to put it out, and Richie offered to put it out after he heard a demo of it, and so that was cool to have somebody else put stuff out for me. But since then I've been putting stuff out on my own. It would be nice to have to get on a label that has some cash to put stuff out for you. But there's a lot of music out there, and a lot of people wanting to get on labels.
And there's a lot less money in it these days, so it's even harder to find people that are willing to put some money behind it. Yeah,
it seems like most of the bands these days, back when they were playing and touring, were making most of the money off of merchandise anyway.
Yeah.
T-shirts and so forth.
But just the way the record industry's changed, records just don't sell like that. I mean, records actually do sell pretty well these days. Certain records, at least. You put out a reissue of a Led Zeppelin record, it's going to sell. But in general, for local bands, it's just hard to sell physical media.
Yeah, and I haven't figured it out quite yet, because the digital stuff on Spotify and in these different places, I'll get a check every now and then for 3 cents, 6 cents, and it's like, what's the point? They spend more money mailing it out than what the checks were. It's not just me. I mean, I've seen some saw a documentary where a pretty big producer, can't remember who it was that he did, but he said he got a check for 6 cents.
Yeah.
It's like, what the heck? And you would figure he would be making thousands of dollars on that record at least, but somebody is.
Yeah, I don't really know who makes that money these days, but somebody's making some money somewhere, and it's not guys like us.
You're right.
It never really was guys like us, but it's definitely not guys like us now. I guess there was a time probably back in the 90s when you could make a little bit of money playing in a band.
Yeah, back, like I said, when the Czechs were playing, the clubs and so forth, and we were making, I mean, we were upset if we didn't make at least $500 a night. We were making 1,000, 1,200, bucks, in one night, and we played two, 3 nights a week, and that was pretty good, But even that changed, where you really weren't making very much money in the clubs for some reason. I guess they started taking money out of the door for the sound guy and for the doorman and for the bar cut, and it just seemed like there wasn't as much money as there used to be. I guess things just change over time for bands like ours, they just play clubs, small clubs, big venues.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about the new album a little bit. So you said you recorded it pretty much, it's all self-recorded, correct?
Yeah.
It sounds like it was probably recorded at different times. You can kind of tell from one song to the next. It sounds a little different sometimes. And some of it sounds like I think at times it sounds like some Hazel Adkins. And then other songs, other songs just are just straightforward rock and roll songs. But talk a little bit about the record and what, I don't really know what you want to say about it. But.
Well, I don't, there's not a lot to say about it. I mean, like I said, I try to make the songs kind of different, and come up with some different sounds. When you're doing stuff solo and on your own, you don't have to make it sound any certain way. I played with the mixes a lot, and I'm not sure exactly. I was just trying to maybe not make centered around any one instrument like the guitar or the drums, the vocals or whatever. It's kind of just trying to come up with some pretty interesting songs, and I think some of them are. I think I've got some interesting stuff there. And as far as the lyrics and so forth, the way I kind of write is that the lyrics can mean something totally different to whoever's listening to it. There's 2 or 3 different meanings, and that's just the way I kind of like to write. I don't like for it to be so straightforward that someone can tell what I'm writing about, even though it may seem like it. If you listen to it, it actually, I think, it can mean 2 or 3 different things. When you listen to the song. And this particular album, like I said, it was kind of based on just the sounds I was getting from that guitar.
Yeah.
That guitar that I repaired, it wasn't that easy to play. And that comes across in some of the songs, which may sound a little bit like Hazel Atkins, maybe.
Yeah.
And like it's a 46, the year 46, so it's totally got a different sound than, a newer guitar does.
Oh, yeah.
But it's got a warm sound, and I tried to, just write songs around those sounds.
Yeah.
But anyway, so that's all that I got to say about that album.
I've been thinking about doing like a solo project myself, and I can see me doing sort of the same thing. Like I'd write a bunch of songs, and they wouldn't necessarily be connected, and they wouldn't necessarily all sound the same. They're going to be like, well, this one might sound this way, and I might produce this one a little bit different way. Because like you said, when you're doing it for yourself, you can play around as much as you want to, and not really have to worry about, let's make this sound like the band.
Like the band, yeah. And you don't have to exactly. It's like, I mean, people, they want to hear that sound that they like, from the band. So, and lots of times when you go into a studio, anyway, you don't have a lot of time.
Yeah.
And so you play 4 or 5 songs straight through using the same settings, which, like you said, you can tell that they weren't done at the same time. It's because I do change the settings, from time to time. And I try different microphones that I have. And I don't have anything that's very expensive. I use like a bullet mic, and I've got a Shure mic. And most of the amps I've got an old Laney that I got online. That's I think it's an English made, with a spring reverb.
Yeah,
it's old stuff. And I guess I kind of consider what I'm doing kind of lo-fi.
Yeah.
And I like that. For a while with the crew I'm playing, I was real into slide.
Yeah.
And playing acoustic guitars, mostly slide. Not a very good slide player, but it doesn't matter, you know.
Yeah.
But I can play what I can, and that's what I do. But one of my big influences, from slide playing and everything was Gun Club, you know.
Okay.
You know that band.
Oh yeah.
But when that guy started playing, he wasn't a very good, very good guitar player either. You know, and so I think they needed a guitar player, and they tuned it up to an E and gave him a slide and said, "Here, just play this." But he became very good at what he did.
Yeah.
So, I don't think I played harp on any of those songs on the new album. The one before that, I played a lot of harp, and I don't know how to play harp, but I had some harp around. So, I don't know, maybe that comes across. You know, I kind of like that too. I mean, I'm not saying that I know how to play harp, but it sounds kind of cool at times, you know. So I use it. I mean, I've got, there's no telling. I play drums on a couple of tracks, and I'm not a very good drummer either. So, but you know, when you're doing it on your own, you can make it sound good enough for you to like it.
Oh yeah, exactly.
And if you do, maybe somebody else will too. I don't know.
Yeah. And so you can get that album. I listen to it on Spotify. You can get it at Spotify, Apple Music. Do you have a Bandcamp page?
Oh, yes, I do, but I don't have all my stuff on there.
Okay. Is it a Demon Beach Bandcamp page, or is it your page?
It's mine.
Okay.
Clifton Lee Man. If you search Clifton Lee Man, it'll come up. I put stuff. I use a distributor called DistroKid.
Yeah, yeah.
And they put the digital stuff out in different places. But then I also use Bandcamp, but I don't put the same stuff out on Bandcamp that I put out through DistroKid.
Okay.
Yeah. I just, for some reason, I kind of like to keep it separate. And I've got some albums that I don't have out digitally, but I do have them for sale. But I plan on selling them at shows, but there are no shows right now. But when I do play a show, I'll have plenty of stuff to sell.
Yeah. Hey, let me take a break real quick.
Yeah, one of the things I want to say that when I put out my first solo thing, it was on Pleather Records.
Okay.
Out of Chapel Hill, and it was 1997. Yeah. I found a copy while you were gone. But anyway, that was Richie Williams put that out for me. And I really like that one. Yeah, I like them all. But anyway, so where were we?
Well, we were talking about, so we talked a little bit about Bandcamp, but you said that and we're talking about selling the stuff and when you can play shows. Is it on, do you sell your stuff through the Demon Beach website?
I do. You can, I've got the catalog set up. You can click on that and pay with PayPal. And everything that's on the site might seem a little expensive because, I include the shipping and,
okay, yeah. That's good.
I include shipping. I pay for that. And, I found out, I thought that would be a pretty good idea, but then I got a lot of people buying stuff from the West Coast. and when I was shipping stuff out there, I found I wasn't making very much money. Yeah. So I had to up prices a little bit. But anyway, so, everything's on that we've got is listed on the catalog on the Demon Beach Records website. Is
that demonbeach.com or is it something? I've actually, no, I've been to that website. I've been to it. What is it?
It's actually demonbeachrecords.com.
Yeah.
If you go to demonbeach.net, that's a different website that belongs to my brother.
Okay.
And so you might have found his.
Yeah, I'm not sure which one, but I all of a sudden I remember that I was on there when I was doing some research for one of my radio shows.
Well, the website, like saying before, self-taught with everything, and so we did the website ourselves. So it may seem a little weird to some people. There's a lot of material. There's a lot of just pictures and interviews. Yeah. Some old fanzines and different things on there.
Yeah, but that's what I was remembering about it. Was it seemed like there were it wasn't just a page where you could buy records. There was stuff there. It was almost like on a zine on the internet.
Yeah, it's a lot of stuff, and it goes back a long ways. I guess, gosh, I can't even remember how long. It's been at least 20 years. if not longer. But
I need new shoes. These have no soul. I need a new suit. Maybe 5 in a row. It never seems the way it should. Man standing tall makes him feel good. Like a brand new car, shiny and bright, like a girl in a bar. The lady I mean, like one that can change into a star so bright. On cold, cold dark night, it never seems the way it should. Man standing tall, well, make me feel good. Be sure to count your lucky stars, the ones that will take you far. Good as gold, a shot in the arm, shiny and bright, like a girl in a bar. It never seems the way it should. Man standing tall, well, makes me feel good. I'm talking good. I'm talking sweat. Big old bead running down your back. So good you can hardly breathe. I can tell what it means to me. Catching it on the river, making that inside straight. For the distance, standing tall, that's what it takes. Standing tall, that's what it takes. Like a brand new car, shiny and bright, in a bar.
I like to think a lot about the early days of the music around this area, because I've been kind of doing it for such a long time, And I like to think about a lot of the bands, like Butchwax. They never, they never got a lot of attention or anything, but they got some really good songs.
Yeah.
And they never really put anything much out till I put out a CD for them. And I also put out a vinyl record, which was recorded at the Pier.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you remember the Pier, but there was a lot of talk.
I've heard of it.
The Pier. So it was a live at the Pier, Butchwax record, which is pretty good. It's on vinyl, but it doesn't get a lot of attention. And I think that's like the problem, or what's so hard these days is, like, you can put the music out there, but there's just so much of it available, that you're just competing with so many different people, to put stuff out there. A lot of the music just goes unnoticed, and even when you read things, like about the scene in North Carolina,
Mm-hmm.
It all depends on who's doing the writing or talking about it, because they didn't see a lot of the stuff that was happening,
Yeah.
and bands like Butchwax and so forth. But that's what I like. I'd like to see someone do a really thorough kind of magazine, or a book about all the stuff, that's happened around here.
Yeah.
Just kind of include everything. I guess there's just too much to include.
Yeah, well, that's what I've learned, and I think the reason I know of Butchwax is because they're on that Demon Beach compilation. That's where
Right.
that's where I heard from them. But yeah, that's one of the reasons why I started doing the podcast, and I've got a zine that I do along with it, although I've only done one issue since I restarted it. I'm threatening to finish up the next issue anytime now. But I just feel like, there's so much has been forgotten about, and in the process of doing all this, I've learned about like so much I didn't know about before. I've been doing this for, it's been in the music scene for about 30 years now. But
Right.
There's a lot from before I was in it. There's a lot from the time that I was in it that I wasn't aware of, And it's just,
Sure.
I'm learning a lot about it, and I would like to see, and maybe one of these days I can help be involved in putting something together like that. But I would like to see something like that too, like a good documentary on the North Carolina punk scene, or a good book or something, But that's going to take a lot of work, and something I'm not sure if I'm quite ready for yet myself. But
right, it's a big task, I'm sure. But that's one of the things that attracted me to your podcast thing. Was I checked it out some. It just seems like a good thing to do.
Yeah, I mean, when I first started it, so my idea was I'd wanted to do a podcast for a while, and I wanted it to be about the local music scene. But when I first started the podcast, my first few episodes they were my radio episodes. And part of the reason for doing that was because, I just feel like, even a band that hasn't been around for 5 years has already been forgotten about in the local scene, kind of. And I think about all these bands that were so good that were active when I first got in the scene, and then the bands that were active before that. It's just so many good bands that sort of time is forgotten about, and I don't want it to be forgotten about. So if I can document that in some way and make people aware of it, for what it's worth, It's hard to get people to listen to my radio episodes because people just, they have all the music they want at the touch of a button on their phone now, or not even a button, but a touch of a screen. So it's hard to get people to listen to a radio episode, but I do get quite a few listens to the interviews for sure.
Yeah, and there's also when labels like Merge is doing so well, right here in North Carolina, when people think about North Carolina music and stuff, they think about Merge, in the bands on Merge Records and stuff, which is not bad, but it just kind of, that's kind of immediate. You know what I mean?
And then half of those bands aren't even from North Carolina, so.
Exactly. So, if you really want to get into like the local music and everything, you kind of got to dig for it sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I still enjoy seeing bands that I've never heard before. Sometimes at a small bar or a club or something. That's always fun to me, just to see, going and see people play live.
Yeah.
That you're not expecting, that you never, you don't know what to expect. If you don't like it, you can, go to another bar. But you know what I mean. It's fun just kind of checking in on sometimes on something that you haven't seen.
Yeah, because that's the way I started off was like, we found our club in Charlotte that we wanted to go to, the Milestone Club. And and that's where we went every weekend, no matter who was playing. And these days I find myself more going to shows of my friends' bands. But it's always nice when I just take a chance on something, or, when I go to see one of those bands and then it's the opening band that blows me away and it's like, holy shit, I'd never heard about them.
Right.
But I hope that changes a little bit on the other side of this too, is that maybe people will be a little bit more willing to go out and see shows because people got a little bit too comfortable with their couches for a while. Yeah. And then again, there's that part of me that thinks that there's going to be a lot of people that just don't want to go out at all anymore. So I don't know. I think the future's got a lot to be, there's a lot of unknown for the future for sure.
Yeah, I guess so.
We got to get a handle on it first, and then we'll see what happens on the other side.
There you go.
But definitely, like, sort of on the other side of this, I keep saying that term, but you know what I mean. I do plan to sort of get up into that area a lot more often.
Sure.
Because I've got one of my best friends lives up in Durham, and I've already talked to John McClain about coming up there, and I'm going to bring my amp and my bass with me, and we're going to play some music. And
cool.
One of my ideas is also to get some different people together and get them in the same room and record an episode of the podcast, and not necessarily talk about our history of music, but just talk about our experiences and things like that, and just see where the conversation goes. And I think you would be great to have along with something like that.
Yeah, you count me in.
Yeah. So we'll do some stuff like that down the road. But again, we got to get to the point where we feel comfortable doing that. And I do still do some episodes where I interview people in person, but it's not, I honestly don't know that that's going to happen too much over the next few months until we kind of see what these other strains are going to do.
Right.
But there's ways to do it safely and smartly, but I'm still not ready to like impose myself on somebody up in Durham or Chapel Hill just yet.
Right. Well, we'll get together as soon as we can.
I got trouble. Why? I got trouble. Why? I got a woman, she's good to me. Gives me everything I'll ever need. I got a job, a car, and a house. I got a land with a fence all around. I got trouble.
I got to looking, like one of the things I was doing when I was just kind of laying around this morning was looking at the website for Demon Beach, and I was like, oh yeah, I forgot all about J Love and the Janitors, because I went and visited my friend Matt in Durham last year, and while I was up there, I went through his collection of 7-inches and stuff to see what he had that I didn't have, and like it was North Carolina related, North and South Carolina related, and that was one of the ones that he was like, oh yeah, you need this, and he, I made copies of some of that stuff. But I just didn't make any notes, and I completely forgot about it last night. And then I noticed there were a couple other bands, at least on there, that you were a part of. So I figured we could talk about that a little bit, and I'll just kind of throw this, like, add it onto the end.
That sounds good.
Any one of those in particular you want to talk about first?
Well, the J Love and the Janitors thing, since you were talking about that, I'm guessing the 7-inch, the song you listened to was Full of Streamer.
Yeah, that was it.
Yeah, and Jennifer Love, she's my wife, and like I said, she was quarter owner or quarter whatever of the Demon Beach also. Yeah. And she has a little bit more of a, she writes a lot of songs, and it's a little more country, the influence there. And I've got a lot of that background also, just, from listening, as I was talking to you about growing up with my mom playing songs and everything, so like, old country stuff, that I'm interested in. Yeah. And so I kind of convinced her that she should record those songs instead of just sitting around writing them, And that's the kind of way that I approach music in general. I like to share it. Yeah. If I go to all the trouble of writing a song and figuring it out, then, I want to go through the next step and record it. And then after recording it, to put it out and then move on to another project. Oh, yeah. And that's the way I've always approached things. And, with all my bands, or the bands I played with, and just people I've known, I've tried to encourage them to do that, And so I did a lot of the music for that, to put music to her lyrics. And then we went in to Doug Key's studio, Jerry Keys, and it was just me and her and Rock Forbes, the Bad Checks drummer. Okay. And we laid down the songs, and we put out the 7-inch. She also had a song on the compilation. Oh boy, and I should have been prepared for this, but it was a Chapel Hill compilation. I'll have to think about, it'll come to me in a minute, about the guy that wrote all the songs, but we did one of his songs, Everybody. Pipe even was on the compilation also. Yeah. Doing songs. Oh, I'm trying to think of who that was, because anyway, I probably won't think of it either. Well, I may in a minute. So we put out the 7-inch. We worked on a song called Full of Streamer, and I played acoustic guitar on it. We tried to kind of, make it sound like it was actually recorded maybe in the 50s, late 50s or something. Oh, yeah, I love that about it. Yeah, and so some people that listened to it actually thought the guitar was a piano, because that was kind of a single picking each note, and it did sound a little bit like an old piano. But I thought that one song came out really good, and then later on I did a CD for, put together all the songs, and it's also in the catalog. I think the only thing we're selling on the website is maybe the 7-inch. Yeah.
Well, I'm a fool for dreaming. Every night I cry. Well, I'm a fool for dreaming, but I don't know why. I can see on the big screen, I can see my living lights. So I'm a fool for dreaming, but I won't stand by.
And the other bands that I think that we missed, talking about a little bit, was Fake Swedish, Chapel Hill band. I don't know if you know them. Joe Romeo. Yeah, I saw it listed on the website. Yeah, I put out a CD for them, and it's really good. It's a really good CD, and it was a little different from some of the other bands that was more garage sounding or more rock sounding. It kind of had its own little niche there, but I was really happy the way it came out, the way it sounded.
Yeah.
And then, so I think that was one we didn't talk about, but I think the rest we pretty much touched bases on. Oh, except for maybe you asked about.
Yeah, I was saying that I saw the Clifton Men and the adult filmmakers. I don't know. You may have mentioned it. I haven't went back and listened to all of it yet, so I can't remember if you actually mentioned that one or not.
No, actually, the adult filmmakers was when I first approached Rock. He was the lead frontman. He was the frontman singer for a band called Smooch, and they were out of Burlington.
Okay.
But they broke up, and he wasn't playing with anybody, and I don't think I was playing it with anybody at the time, and so I got up with him and asked if he wanted to get together and play some songs, and it turned out he played drums also. Yeah. And that's how he kind of worked his way into playing drums for the Bad Checks. But he's a really good vocalist and frontman. He's just not so into it anymore, but his voice sounds a lot like Mick Jagger, and recorded especially, and you might can pick that up on some of the recording for the adult filmmakers, which is just me and him on the record.
Okay.
But they also have an album with Rock playing, and with my brother, a lot of his solo stuff that they did. The Carolina Sin Eaters is what it's called.
Okay.
I've got so many different bands going on. I start everything kind of starts running together.
Oh yeah, I understand.
But the Carolina Sin Eaters, that's just Rock and Robin, and Robin does most of the vocals, but Rock does some of the backups. And man, he sounds just like Mick Jagger on a couple of songs, and it's worth a listen just for that.
Yeah, I'll have to seek it out.
I'll never get to church on time. I just got in. It's 5:30. My Saturday lasted a long, long time, but it's Sunday now. I'll never get to church on time. The night.
And so that was kind of a project we started on and kind of intended to take it further, but then we got busy with the Bad Checks and so forth. Yeah. So things kind of get put on the back burner. And that's another, I'd like to do some more recording with him singing, but I'd have to convince him a little bit. It's a lot of work to learn how to write enough songs for an album and to rehearse them and so forth.
Yeah.
But anyway, and the other thing we can talk about is the Clifton Men. Mm-hmm. And we talked a little earlier about my solo album. And so I was going to get together a band to play some out with that material. And so I got together with Bo Taylor. I don't know if you know that name, but he
sounds familiar.
Played a band called Motorcaster out of Raleigh. They were pretty big for a while. They got signed to a major label. Yeah. Yeah, and put out maybe one record before they actually, I guess, due to the A&R person changing or something, they got dropped from the label. But he's a real talented musician, and so I started working with Bo, and a friend of his, Brooks Carter, he played drums. He played with some bands around the Athens scene, and he had moved up here to Raleigh, and so we got them, and then we decided to bring in another person to sing some, and so we got Doug Connell, from the Connells. Doug. He kind of took over the lead vocals on some of those songs, and so it all sounded so good with those guys playing. We decided to record, a CD, and we put out some of the same material that was on my first solo record. Yeah, and and there's some songs that are not on the solo record. There's some new songs, and it's pretty interesting because the background with Doug and the Connells and Bo with Motorcaster and me with pipe and so forth. That we came from different kind of genre or music and everything. So it's pretty interesting CD, and it didn't get a lot of attention. I guess as far as it comes to promoting some of this stuff, I fall a little short sometimes on that. I'm good at getting the stuff out, to a point, but then as far as actually promoting it and ads and whatever it takes, airplay, that's a whole different ballpark.
Yeah, it's something that I still haven't figured out, and it's completely different than it was years ago anyway, just the whole promotion game. But I still haven't quite figured it all out and how it all works. Because even when I pay for an ad, it doesn't seem to work.
Yeah, it used to kind of take care of itself, the kind of underground, cool music and everything. You could put a record out and somehow people would find it and write about it, and want to play it. It's a little, like you said, it's a lot different these days. But anyway, so the Clifton was kind of just a one-off, kind of thing that we did because, Doug was still signed to TBT records at the time. Yeah. And so he really wasn't even supposed to be working with another band.
Yeah.
And so he was kind of worried about that without getting the permission of his label before we put it out and so forth. And I don't think it matters anymore. And to me, it didn't really matter much back then. I said, I'm going to put it out.
Yeah.
But anyway, so that was a one-off. But I would enjoy doing another record with those guys because they actually play very well together. Me and Bo kind of switch back and forth between bass and guitar. Brooks is a killer drummer, but he's also a doctor now, so he doesn't have a lot of time for me playing drums, so.
And I like the attitude of like, you want to make sure that if you write something, you get it recorded so you can share it with people. Because that's the way I feel too. And like I've been going back and watching some old performance videos of our old band, The Accidents, the one I sent you the song for last night. And there's a lot of songs that we never actually got recorded. So I've got an idea now that I want to record those songs. The only problem is nobody might not know the lyrics because it's hard to pick them out on the videos.
Right.
But I'm just like, they're good songs, and I hate the fact that we never got them recorded. So maybe now I can do that. And I just haven't quite figured out the logistics of it. It's something I've just recently kind of got the idea for, but I think I want to do it.
Right. And again, that's something too. I kept up with keeping all the tapes, like analog tapes and so forth from our old early recordings, like with the bad checks and everything. I kept them and I lugged them around every time I made a move, and I finally got around to transferring a lot of those analog tapes to digital. And so now I can go back and remix them and listen to them, the individual tracks, and it's real important, it's, I think you'll find if you can do that, just to transfer them to digital, because the tapes don't last forever. Those analog tapes, they got old and they had to be cooked, heated up because they were brittle and falling apart. So just to kind of preserve them, that's a good thing to do. And I did that with a lot of the stuff. I still got a lot more to do, but a lot more tapes to do. I've got a whole trunk of analog tapes and so forth.
Yeah,
it's a lot easier to have on digital files. I'm
in the middle of one of those projects myself where I'm transferring all my stuff to digital so I can preserve it. And I'm putting it up on YouTube, and I'm actually going to do I'm going to do a cassette box set for my first band, because this is like the 30th anniversary from when we started. So, that's one of my plans for this year is to do like a real short, I'm talking 10 physical copies, and then the rest of it's going to go up online. But it's going to be all this stuff I've got, all these practice tapes and stuff where we jammed on Led Zeppelin songs and things like that.
That's cool. And before you go, I'll get your mailing address and I can send you some stuff, and then maybe when you get some stuff, you can send me back. We can swap some stuff out.
Heck yeah, I'll definitely do that. I'll send you my address and on the messenger.
Okay, that sounds good, because I probably got some CDs that you haven't heard, like the Ghost of Rock and the Adult Filmmakers, and I'd be happy just to send them. They're yours, already. I've got them in the stack. They're ready for you.
Yeah, I've got the Ghost of Rock 7-inch, so I've got that. But
the CD, the full length would be interesting for you.
Yeah, I'd love to hear that, because I love those 4 songs on that 7-inch. They're awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And
I like that subject. And Ron put that one out on his label.
Yeah.
Ron Liberty did.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I can't remember the name of his label, and I'm not sure if they put anything else out on that label.
It was Hypno Vista, and...
Oh, yeah, that's it.
And then there was another record label name on it, too. I'm trying to remember what it was now. I've said it a few times on the podcast, so that's why I was... I kind of remember.
Right.
But,
right. Well, I would hope that they would put some more stuff out, because, he kind of approaches stuff this way I do it yourself.
Mm-hmm.
and he likes to do the screen print, the coat jackets and everything.
Yeah.
And that's actually something that I did with me and Jen did with our early stuff. The vinyl we put out, we screen printed the jackets, and we do them on our kitchen table. The one we did for Dexter and Throw Rag, I think we did about 1,000 of the jackets.
Oh,
and
wow.
yeah, in 2 colors on the front, 2 colors on the back. And so you can imagine our kitchen table with our screen printer doing that there. You know, it's quite an undertaking. But we did all those early 7-inch vinyl. A band I forgot to mention was Drag Strip Syndicate.
Mm-hmm.
And we put a 7-inch out for those guys, and it was really good. And they played for a while. I think they moved down here from maybe Virginia.
Okay.
They played around Raleigh for a little bit, and they were a really good band. But they moved on to other projects also. But anyway, gosh, it seems like there's always something else, you know, like that I've forgot to talk about. But
Yeah.
actually, I wish you could see me right now. There's a Bad Checks 7-inch that's got 4 songs on it. That was on Bittersweet Records. Have you seen that?
No, I haven't.
Okay, that one actually has Chuck from Pike playing drums on it.
Okay.
And Chuck played with the Bad Checks for a few shows, and when we were in between drummers, and he played with us at Sleaze Fest in Chapel Hill. And the guy from Bittersweet Records, his name was Vinny, Big Vinny, I think they called him. He was from New York. It was a label in New York.
Yeah.
And he was there at Sleaze Fest, and he wanted to put out a vinyl from the Bad Checks and from Nashville Pussy, that band. I don't know if you remember them.
I know them.
Okay. And so he was going to put out records for both of these bands, and he went back up to New York. He sent us money to record, and he got the record pressed and everything, and they were part of a bigger label.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't remember the name of the bigger label, but the owner of the larger label, he found out about the 2 records, and he didn't like the other band's name.
Oh.
So he said, "There's no way that stuff's coming out on my label."
Yeah.
And he fired Vinny because of it. And the last thing he did, he said, "You call those guys about your records, they're not going to put it out, but they're all pressed." And he said, "If you just call them, they'll give them all to you." So I said, "Okay, fine." He said, "If you pay the shipping." So anyway, I got all those records.
Okay, cool.
And it is a cool record. I'll have to be sure to send you one of those.
Yeah.
Same thing with Chuck. He had to go by a different name on the record because he was under contract with A-List at the time.
Yeah, for small 23.
Right.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of interesting little tidbits going on for you that I forgot to mention.
And that's the kind of stuff that I feel like, if I got you in the room together with somebody else that was like, maybe John McClane or maybe somebody else, all those little stories would come out because you'd be reminded of little things like that.
Yeah,
so
probably would.
And that's
and I'm not sure they like me talking about a lot of but I don't think it matters anymore since they're like Smalls disbanded and it's not with TVT, excuse me, and I don't think it matters anymore. It would make a nice little documentary that.
Yeah. Oh yeah, like we talked about last night. That's a good idea for the future. So
yeah.
And having people like you around that's kept up with all the stuff and because you document things. Having people like you around makes it easy to do things like that because when it comes time for it, it's like, oh, I know Cliff's got all this stuff.
Well, actually, I do have a lot of old magazines and everything stashed in my crawl space here in my office. And I actually started a documentary with some help from some friends about Demon Beach Records, actually. That was what it was going to be about. And we shot a lot of footage of interviews with the bands that we had on the label at the time, and with Dexter, and they went out and shot live footage and did interviews. We did a show at the Cat's Cradle. It's been quite a long time ago. They moved on to some bigger projects they were actually getting paid for, and so they kind of quit the project about the Demon Beach records, which they were kind of just doing out of just because they wanted to do it.
Yeah.
But anyway, and they gave me all the master tapes to that, and I actually put some of it on the Demon Beach Facebook page.
Okay.
And it's fairly long, but and I'm sure you could see some of it on there.
Yeah, I'll
it's
check that out.
just the raw footage, the raw footage of it. But I intend to one day put that all together and finish that project. So there's still some things ongoing, I guess.
Oh, yeah.
You know. And there always will be.
Yeah, I was gonna say, trust me. I always say I've got like 15 different projects going on at one time, and it's like I'll make a little bit of progress on one, and then another one piques my interest, and I guess that's a downfall of having ADD. But like I said, the podcast always kind of takes precedent right now. So I'll
Sure.
do a little bit of digitizing tapes, and then I'll go to digitizing a video tape, and then I'll work on something else. And so it's just, I can't.
Yeah, it's great. It's great to have something to work on. You know?
And the good thing is it's all on my own time, so it's not like I have these deadlines or anything. I can just kind of be like, all right, I'll get this done. But if I do a little bit of it now, that way I ensure that I'm going to finish it up later. I appreciate it. If you got anything else you thought about, you wanted to say, or
I think we've covered a lot, and maybe we could do a part 2 later sometime.
oh yeah, definitely. There's a lot of part 2s coming down the road, and so like I
and
said,
along with the,
I'm
along
hoping.
with the one about.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just, the only thing I was going to say was I'm hoping that when I get around to my part 2s, they can be in person, because a lot of my part 2s I want to do are with people that I've done this way.
Right. Yeah, that would be interesting. Maybe we could, like you were talking about, getting a few people together. Maybe we could play a few songs, acoustically or whatever.
Yeah.
And a lot of good stuff could come out of just getting together. And I'm all for it.
Oh yeah, me too. I'm just kind of for on the other side of all this when we get it under control and everything. That I want to be a lot more productive and a lot more creative and find different outlets for that. So we'll be in touch for sure.
That sounds good, man.
All right. This has been a Gabba Gabba Hunt Media production.